Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Metaworld News. Today we are bringing you the highlights for the week ending March the 8th,
Woo.
2020. How could one possibly go wrong with something that simple?
Mm-mm.
Well, yes, cough, cough, says James. Hi, I am Mal Burns. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/ Malburns, or one word, so it's MAL, no space, BURNS. And we have a feed for this show on twitter.com/ Metaworld News, which is particularly designed for social worlds. Um, I'm going to be covering a few links here, and if you don't hear the link or see the link, or I can't even read the link, you can find a clickable link on those feeds. Um, Also, I'm joined by James Out Loud here, who's pressing knobs and fiddling around with all our screens. Hello, James.
Hello, just call me Fiddler.
Yep.
Fiddlery, fiddly
Okay. Yeah.
dee.
Yes, and actually, we're on a mountain which might be said to be the roof of the world. So maybe you are a
Oh,
fiddler on the
yeah.
roof. Yes, you are a
Fiddler on
fiddler.
the roof. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
you're a fiddler on the roof of the virtual world. There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
You are sitting on top of the world, to paraphrase another
Oh,
something or
every
other.
day, Mal. Every day I'm sitting
Yeah.
on top of the world.
Very good. Okay, well, of course, as well as following the links there, you'll be able to actually see some of the links as I'm reading them on screen because that's one of the fancy magic tricks that James here does. It allows you to see my desktop while I'm blabbering. So there we go. Right. Well, with after this show, we have to keep the time down this week. We've come on a bit early just to be certain of things because immediately after this show on the hour, there is an edition of In World Review where we'll be joined by Kevin Phelan to talk about something called VWBPE. And if you don't know what that is, you better stay tuned because I'll announce I'll announce the full title when we get there.
Mm.
In the meantime, down to this week's news. And the first post I've got up is a post at uploadvr.com. And this is a guest post. You can probably see that if you see it, if you see what I mean. Existing Beyond Your Reality. And there's a lady called Alex Rule. And not really much I can tell you here. It's just an interesting sort of roundup post based on a TED talk that she did, where she was given a chance to reflect publicly on the possibilities of what VR is capable of and the transformative power of immersive technology. And she's amongst those championing and stuff. She mentions a few games because she says, like this bit, when it comes to my personal use of VR outside of work, you're most likely to find me trying to perfect disappearing arrow mode on Beat Saber. Whatever that what does that mean? I don't know. Uh, so that sounds more
Okay.
like a gamey sort of thing, but VR anyway. So yeah, just an interesting little post there, a little bit differently. We've been seeing a lot over this week. We've mentioned it in the recent shows anyway. Um, this week's links, instead of a whole load of links on latest medical uses or things, there's quite a few links, very general purpose links on VR this week, including news items and references to what VR can be used for, particularly in the light of this sort of corona virus era we seem to be moving into. Um, and well, I'm paraphrasing somebody else there when they called it an era, but who knows? Um, from two points of view, actually. One is how VR itself is enabling medical services and researchers and things to do their work better in terms of tracking and coping and with the virus and treating people with the virus for that matter. Um, and also, in a secondary thing, well, in days when people are being told not to turn up for work or school or to stay at home and self isolate and everything else, the use of VR as an alternative meeting place. We often promoted early VR as kind of the new, the electronic pavilion. You know, in that it's a kind of social meeting place, not like a pub or a park or something like that, but more like a pavilion space that's electronic. And of course, offices, and there are a lot of companies who suddenly are finding themselves waking up to this because they've put it off and they've sort of, I won't say they've dissed VR or so, virtual worlds. They've just sort of slowly got more interested in people traveling around with mobile phones and doing all the stuff that you do when you're mobile. And now, for the first time, we're entering a phase where maybe people are being forced to actually give up that mobile world they become so
Hmm.
used to, sorry. And it may, I'm sure they've still got their phones to talk on, but it may not, we may be dependent on more than just mobile phones to actually do, adequate immersion, be it work, play, or whatever you want. Anyway, moving on with the links, I'm going to put that one we're talking about away now. And oh, I love this one,
Oh, fatal error.
fatal error. Right, digital debugging WordPress. That is very interesting.
Oh,
Okay.
it looks like on their end
Um,
and not your end.
yeah, so I'm going to go to Yes, well, I've reloaded it. Right. Okay, this is a site called digitalbodies.net, WW in front of this one, but if it matters, I ask if it does. digitalbodies.net. And we have a few posts from here now and again. And this one, guess what? After what I was just saying, Emery Craig is talking about the coronavirus and virtual
Mm-hmm.
reality. And basically, several VR AR conference cancelled, postponed, more expected to follow, including SW, sorry, whatever the hell it is. Right, afraid to. Um, but what is actually true at this time, of course, is that, well, some of these conferences have been postponed. I think in this week in particular, it's not really on this article, but at least two of the conferences that I expected to say postponed have actually said moved to
Mm.
virtual, which is a good sign. At least two conferences have figured out it's better to move to virtual. And I think only one of them is actually a virtual world conference. So there you go. Anyway, this is just talking about, sort of impact on various things. And the interesting thing I found in this article is just this bit, and that it just hadn't occurred to me until I read it, but it should have been so obvious from the start. A lot of VR people, meaning the headset and haptic crowd, are promoting out of home VR. It's been, whereas in home headset use and all that stuff hasn't really taken off except amongst geeky gamers and stuff. In the enterprise and out of home in amusement arcades and things, it's actually been quite a big hit. And of course, these arcades, these out of home experiences, actually are rather like conferences or theme parks or whatever, full of a lot of people. And they, of course, are also being targeted to basically close to avoid spreading it. And what is becoming increasingly concerned, as mentioned in this article, is that it's not just the fact that that is a public venue that means it needs to be closed, but when you go to this venue, they supply you with all that kit. And, it would mean a lot of this kit would mean, every time somebody takes it off, it would have to be washed and sterilized and made ready for the next person. And, obviously they do a bit of that anyway, but, to a far greater extent than they do already. So it seems that this aspect of the VR may be adversely affected also by the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll just have to get private kits of their own and wear it at home, and then maybe they can do it from home at somewhat greater cost, no doubt. Anyway, moving on. That's, as I said, was www blah blah digital bodies, all one word there, .net.
Maybe we need an update to the phrase, uh, think globally, eat locally. We need reside locally, participate virtually. Something like that.
Well, no, stay local, go global.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, good point, good point. Just a catchphrase that people can catch on to and sort of,
Embrace. Right.
abuse to their heart's content.
Exactly.
Talking about abuse today, wonderfully, it's great that it happens, of course, and it's been happening for nearly a century. Apparently, it's nothing to do with feminism of the modern age, but it's International Women's Day today. So, the amongst all the other people celebrating it, Marvel Comics did. But
Ah,
their
okay.
idea of celebrating it is to issue a poster with a montage drawing of all their female superheroes on it. It doesn't say anything about, except for women, International Women's Day. It doesn't
Ah,
even say best wishes to. And it's such blatant advertising. And the thing that actually bugs me is I like those romps as much as anybody, but I don't think those superhero women characters and stuff are really role examples for female empowerment. They're too over the top. They're actually catering more to boys' fantasies,
mm-hmm.
if you ask me, than to women. So I was really a bit taken about that. I followed Marvel comics a bit. So when I saw this, I thought, ooh, cute little montage picture from Marvel. What's this about? Nothing. International Women's Day along the bottom. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, so at least other big companies, Apple are jumping in on it, but they always have done, and at least we read about they're supporting it and what they think of it and how it relates to what they do and things. But not Marvel, just an advertising picture would do. Thank you very much. Dear me, glad I left them lot behind. Right, moving on for real this time. I'm going to close that before I keep going back to it. Right, this is Hubs, HUBS dot
Hmm.
I triple E V R. Right. Now, this was a real world conference that was going to happen in Atlanta this year. It is no longer happening in Atlanta. It is happening online. And you will be attending here. And as you can see, the various parts of the venue, the main conference hall, and all this sort of other stuff. I can't scroll down, but basically, all their rooms that are part of the conference are now being made virtually. And you can already jump in these and visit them, I would add, actually.
Hmm.
So, not much I can tell you there immediately, but basically, this IEEE VL conference will now be online. And to get to it, I will repeat that again. It's hubs, HUBS dot then IEEEVR dot online, or one word there, ONLINE. So hubs dot IEEEVR dot online. And that takes you to the page we're looking at here, and you can already go into the rooms and explore them, even though we're quite a way off from the conference. So, good sign there. That the first of the conferences here that is actually going to be going virtual, and not surprisingly, really, given that it's IEEE's VR conference, but it would normally have been held in Atlanta, and instead of being cancelled, it's been put online. Good for them. Right, moving on. The Ghost Howls. Oh God, I can never remember. This site is the Scarred Ghost. I can never remember who it is. It's somebody really famous. He's on Twitter as the Scarred Ghost, and his website about virtuality and startup and stuff is where we are now. It's actually called the Ghost Howls. There's a little logo out of screen there, actually at the top. Um, and basically, well, he again is addressing the thing Skype versus VR. Well, I don't really know if there's any competition on that front. When should you organise your meetings events in VR? And then we're in coronavirus times, and the outbreak of this disease has changed in a way or in another. I think it means in one way or another, the lives of many people. One of the biggest consequences is that many people are now quarantined and having problems traveling around the world. And conference organisers are cancellating indeed, cancelling their events, even the important ones like F8, MWC, and GDC because of concerns. Companies are cancelling meetings, work travels, and employees are being forced to work from home, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read out the whole article for you, but it's an interesting. Tony Parisi, that's whose blog this
Oh,
is,
okay.
right? I don't know why he's known as the Scarred Ghost, but go figure. Yeah, Tony Parisi, he was really an old timer in terms of VR and stuff. So the VR side, he knows what he's talking about. But this really is just just a more general article. Just pays if I rabbit on for long enough, the name would come to me, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Yes. Right, and he'd also other things like Zoom and whatever there. So this is a little bit more information on what you might like to do. Now you can't go out your house at all, whether you want to or not, for work or travel. And um, here in Britain already, some of the supermarkets are putting restrictions on how much of things you can buy to stop people in the last couple of days beginning to panic and try and stock up on underground bunkers for the next 20 years or
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
Um, but actually, the ones I pity are in Italy. As of this morning, there are, I think, 4 million people are now quarantined in Italy. Whole regions of Italy have been literally shut off and um, quarantined because of the spread there. It's where the spread is fastest at the moment. So,
Mhm.
anyway, enough of that. I'm going to give you pointers to links that will help with that situation. I'm not going to sit here moaning about it because there's not much we can do anyway.
Nope.
Right, virtual reality reporter. Right, um, what is going on here? Um, Okay, this is not the best of sites. Their style sheet is a bit of the Greek, actually. Okay, another reality announces global VR art festival and tournament to encourage VR artist collaboration. Another reality is the Social High Tech Entertainment Centre located in Toronto, and they're launching a global VR art festival and tournament. It's going to be taking place in 13 cities over 5 countries, or at least that's what they think at the moment.
Mhm.
Who knows whether that will actually happen? They do say they incorporated the word festival before tournament, so it's clear the purpose of each day is not competing. Yeah, blah blah blah. All about VR, not just about gaming, etc., etc. So they plan to be holding it in Connecticut, Los Angeles, South Carolina, Boston, Shanghai, Melbourne, and Sydney. And
Connecticut. That's interesting. Hmm.
yeah, it's a bit of an odd one out, really, isn't it?
Yeah, not a name that jumps
I
out at
think
me.
these
Right.
are actually venues that have obviously signed up to take part with it in it,
Oh.
really.
Oh.
Um, what it doesn't tell you is the um, oh, apparently it's a London launch as well. London was it? Oh God knows. Right, launches in London. You can go to Eventbrite here, and another reality tickets can be. Hang on, I'm just going to open this. I want to see how stupid they're being. Um, he says March the 19th at 6 p.m. Oh right, this is Eventbrite, so this includes them all apparently. Right. And the first one seems to be on March the 19th. Now, this is not too expensive, but quite frankly, I'll be surprised if all these go ahead without being hit by the virus worry. But 19th is basically a week or two away at most. I would say this is a bit stupid. I would have thought they would have joined the crowd and postponed things a little bit there. Um, okay. Um, well, I'll put that away anyway. Um, UploadVR.com, yes, again. HTC, they're the people that make one of the most popular headsets. They're not the Facebook brand, they're the other one. HTC Vive is they make. They're aiming to host their 2020 ecosystem conference in virtuality, again, citing the coronavirus. So this is the second one of the week that has now transferred from real life into VR. And this again, actually, this is interesting. This starts on March the 19th too, and the conference is going to be held on the Engage platform,
Mm.
which actually is a
Mhm.
pretty halfway decent platform for
Yeah,
this
it's
sort of
pretty.
stuff.
It's pretty robust. Yeah.
It's a good one, and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I often wonder if we should go over and do a show or something in Engage. It's one
We could.
we haven't been to, have we?
Yeah.
For show purposes, anyway. Um, so they've actually chosen a pretty good platform for that, and of course, well, the expected turnout for those kind of things would be quite great. Um, it's interesting. The president, Vive China president. I don't know whether Vive is actually or HTC is a Chinese company, or whether they've just got. But anyway, yeah. Actually, most years it's actually held in China, and so this year it's moving online. So another great sign. Conferences become move to VR. Okay, again on a similar theme. This is a website www.wxrfund, in other words wxrfund.com. I don't know what on earth WXR fund is, if indeed if it is a fund or something else completely. But anyway, they too have published this useful little piece on 8 resources for meeting using virtual or augmented reality. And again, it starts off with conferences being cancelled at an unprecedented rate. And I don't need to tell you why by now, do I? We've
Mm-mm.
already had this on about 20 previous posts. But in person events are becoming less viable, at least for the near future. And so this is a perfect opportunity to explore the growing market of virtual events. And yeah, they comment on all that, and they mention Engage here too. They also mention VR, where we engage spaces. Oh, Facebook's thing. Nobody wants that, do they? VR chat, Altspace VR, hosted by Mozilla, and oh yes, Tivoli. Our friends at Tivoli, who are working on the open source code based on High Fidelity, have got a plug-in here, and actually Tivoli's cloud system can already host hundreds of avatars in the same space, which I read about somewhere else in the last few days, and they've obviously got that in there. That's a real plus point if you can actually have hundreds of avatars in the same space without actually having to shard them.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I would love to what Tivoli is doing behind the scenes is sort of closed. I mean, it's based on open source code, but they are a commercial entity, a bit like High Fidelity were attempting to be. So, I just before we came on air, I had the when this the machine, the virtual machine I'm running, well, the virtual world machine that I'm running has High Fidelity sandbox on it. Um, which I don't really need anymore. But basically, it shows you who's online in High Fidelity without even logging in. And I was surprised. There were about half a dozen people there, including Philip Rosedale himself in his old private office. So and Dr. Fan and various other more familiar people. So it's still showing up, with I think basically if you use a high fidelity interface to actually go to an independently hosted simulator, which a lot of people do, your avatar still seems to show up in high fidelity infrastructure, which is interesting. Um, it's almost as if they've haven't shut it down. They've just left it lying there.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
anyway, that's I probably got that all that wrong, but it was quite interesting. That was literally just, about an hour ago. I was checking that. Okay, so anyway, yes, as I said, more on 8 resources for meeting using virtual or augmented reality at www.wxrfund.com, and we'll move on from that. And more general posts now, we're at vrscout.com. That's VR the letters, then scout as in Boy Scouts, the proper word, but all squashed together. VRSCOUT. And yeah, a bit of clout for the VR Scout. Yeah. Oh, I'm in a silly mood today, am I not? Right, it's time to develop a consent framework for virtual beings by Liv Erickson, who is, I think I follow her on Twitter and all over the place, although I don't know much about her. The rise of virtual beings, in other words, avatars and also similar things, really. Technically performance holograms of virtual beings of sorts. The rise of virtual beings leads us to new questions regarding the rights of digital representations. Um, in other words, I don't know. Does a hologram of Elvis Presley performing on stage? Well, I mean, the copyright probably belongs to the original filmmakers from which the holograms are generated. The music is undoubtedly copyrighted to his estate. So, I mean, you would argue that even something as fairly abstract as that certainly has rights. That although they're extensions of sort of the real world rights, really. Um, Whether you're talking about human rights and stuff like that, should a digital being be prevented for being, I don't know, sort of cartoon-like assault or something, where no real damage is done, but people argue psychological damage. Well, you can argue that they should have the rights to walk down the virtual road without being hit on virtually, sort of thing, or worse still, hit virtually. Um, so
The lines are blurring, Mal. The lines are
the lines,
blurring.
indeed, they are sort of too blurred,
And they
and
will continue to
especially
blur. Yeah.
yeah, and with a lot of large concerts and things being cancelled at the moment, the other thing that I'm noticing, I don't think I've got anything here this week, but an increasing number of well-known performers are having holograms of themselves made so they will actually be able to tour without actually going to the venue themselves. Um, Presumably the poor suckers, the fans, will still have to go to the venue and catch a coronavirus. But maybe, why not just do the whole concert online? Although they are doing that too. So, the whole thing's changing. I actually quite like this in a way because I don't want to go out myself, but the urgency with which everybody is running around like headless chickens is sort of really doing quite a lot to, yeah, if I try to explain to somebody what VR is, as an alternative to the real world now, I'm not going to get some of the, sort of, you know, insane looks from people that
Right,
everyone
right.
used to get, So, yeah, well, you don't want to catch a coronavirus? Well, I got an idea. It's called virtual reality. And the same person who would have laughed me into the ground a year ago might actually be listening now. So, it's a good time in a way for all
Yeah,
this
maybe
stuff.
that's why Philip's back at his office. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, I think it's a conspiracy. I think somebody invented this coronavirus as a way of boosting the popularity of virtual worlds,
Oh my.
and then then all these virtual worlds will create a great big interoperative infrastructure called the metaverse, and then they'll let on that it was all a hoax. There was no
Hmm.
coronavirus, just a few hundred dead people.
No,
Yeah, I don't. That's not
you
going to
sound
go
like
well.
a president I know. It's all a hoax.
Yeah. Oh, I've given up on the quotes from him this week.
Yeah, don't bother. Don't even bother.
And I'm thinking, yeah, one of the things they've got the clip here. You've probably seen it by now. In fact, I think we even showed it on this show five. The screen share thing here. Um, this thing in was it Indonesia or somewhere? A few weeks ago. Um, Basically, a woman who had lost her daughter. Somebody made a virtual recreation of her child
Right. Yes, we did that
with
last week.
photogrammetry, and yeah, since I posted that, yeah, I keep seeing it every couple of days posted somewhere here and else. It's definitely sort of gone viral. But obviously they're looking at more things here. There we've got a virtual a group of a music group called Orcs U Man Auxiliary Men, I guess. Except three of them are women. Four of them are women. Maybe they're all women. I don't know. It's hard to tell with virtual characters. David Attenborough in his VR app. I don't think I called David Attenborough a virtual being, but never mind. Anyway, sort of on and on and on. So quite a
Mhm.
lot to read there from Liv. So do check that out at vrscout.com. And it's in their news section, and it was dated March the 4th, which I guess is a couple of days ago now. Okay, moving on. This is a site called JSource. Apparently, it's the Canadian Journalism Product. Sorry, project. I don't know where the J comes from. Maybe, oh, we got a J in project, I suppose. Anyway, Edward Madogemu wrote, this is the focus of the person, talking about innovation, agency, and shared experience in the world of VR. And This is much wider ranging, and it actually includes 360 video, but not video for graphic novels. The old long form comic books, basically. Sales have absolutely surged over the past decade, and much of it's been driven by pop culture power of Marvel and DC's superhero squads. But new artists and voices have been breaking in. Um, One rising creator in this space is Edward Mado Jemu, who's an animation student in Vancouver,
Hmm.
and it's all about storytelling using VR and stuff, and plus you got some web clip examples there. So sort of arts post there, really. Um, okay. I have so many buttons on my screen these days. I think I keep forgetting which one is the tab to close.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there we go. And allow whatever I'm allowing. Oh no, I don't want to allow those. Block. Right. Ultraleap. This is the company behind Leap Motion. Their new name is Ultraleap. They're based in Bristol in the UK here. They're a world leader in technologies redefining human machine interactions, and they have joined the Cronus Group, which is an open consortium of leading hardware and software companies creating advanced acceleration standards, participating in the Open XR Working Group. And they talk about the open standard there and the fact Ultra Leap has joined them. Technical information, but something I think is very important because the more organisations that are talking to each other, trying to work out, common standards, interoperability, and everything like that, the better. And the Kronos Group have clearly been leading that idea of cooperation since the beginning, really. Well, the beginning of VR, that is, all virtual worlds. Right, moving on. We're back on VR Focus here, and there we are. And we're back in London too for this one. The British Film Institute, they have a London Film Festival every year on the South Bank here in London, and they are expanding their public program with XR projects, which means VR, AR, and all the rest of it. This doesn't actually take place until October this year, so I guess that is far enough ahead that they haven't really considered whether they might have to move that one online.
Mm-hmm.
But things will take their course, I guess. But good that, like Sundance and many other film festivals, they're all branching out into what is frequently 360 video. Let's be honest. But generally speaking, they're looking at apps that are VR or um, you know, offer short movies that are totally in 3D, 360 and stuff. Um, and it all connects. It all connects basically. Um,
So Mel, I wonder if it's time for a
yep.
stretch. Is it time for a mid-show
Oh, it
stretch?
probably is time for a mid-show stretch. Yes, folks. We are bringing this show to you live today. Indeed, we is from a place called Kitely. And wonderful thing here is that whenever I stand up, I actually jump and I smash the iPad underneath my feet and nearly kick
They're
the mouse off
crushed,
the
right?
table.
Well,
Anyway, I can step down again before I do any more damage. Looky over there, it's the inward review stage, which will be on after this. There we are. And then trot around here. Now, you might ask why I'm doing all this trotting around live on air. Good question, really. Let me click and sit down again. God, I look small compared with this chair, don't I? I'm diminutive
well,
avatar
the
on this
the desk
platform.
is tall, perhaps.
Yeah. Basically, this platform we're on called Kitely is part of OpenSim, but it works a bit differently. And if you don't move your ass every 30 minutes or something, they kick you out. And if you've watched this show the last 2 weeks, I think you'll find that I actually had to disappear and come back in while I was still trying to talk you through what I was doing. So, James, thank you, James. Thank you so
You're
much. I
welcome.
definitely needed that stretch of my virtual legs,
It
if
felt good
nothing
too,
else.
right?
Yeah, it felt
It
good. I'm
felt
not sure
good.
about that poor old iPad, but well,
It looks like it survived.
yeah, it looks like an old iPad as
Uh,
well, so
oh.
it's not exactly the greatest of value. I might have damaged.
That's
Anyway,
what's great about virtual worlds. You can move without consequences.
indeed, yes, and yeah, you can. Think without consequences.
without consequence.
You could
Yep.
not think at all, and there will be no consequences. No, that's too many
Too
people.
much, right?
You don't even get banned. Right, okay. Where was I? Apart from moving. Oh yes, the London Film Festival. Anyway, and at the bottom there, 17th of June is the submissions deadline, and then the actual dates for the festival, 7th to the 18th of October.
Hmm.
Still in the year 2020, our current year, but still that is quite a long way ahead as at the moment. Moving on, this is a site called GeekWire. Yes, is you a geek? GEEKWIRE. GeekWire.com. XR experts, XR being AR, MR, VR, and well, as it says, XR experts see healthcare as the killer app for VR, AR, MR, whatever you call it,
Hmm.
which again is quite appropriate. Now, they don't actually make the connection, obviously, here, as many other articles are doing at the moment. But as I said earlier, with this virus spreading around the world and stuff, people that catch it or likely to catch it, the medical profession and the infrastructure surrounding it, emergency services, everything, really need to be on pretty heightened alert at the moment. And that picture shows Microsoft HoloLens being used by surgeons, to see what they're doing, and it's what's happening in miniature is blown up in front of them there between them. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they. I don't. As far as I know, they don't actually treat the virus in any way by going in. We've seen lots of pictures of this strange-looking thing with hooks all over it. Way it looks like. I don't know. I don't know whether I really want to see that in AR actually, but
Hmm.
some monster from outer space is the little hooks on me.
A
It's
little
going to get its
virtual
hooks on me. I don't want.
visualization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want that thing putting its hooks on me. Anyway, certainly not a giant one. But again, the idea here, this article really is about the healthcare industry, and they are seeing it as the VR in general, XR in general, sorry, is the killer app, and yeah,
Ironic.
um, ironic, yes. It looks well, yeah. It's a current article,
Use of
but
the word killer for healthcare. Yeah.
yes, killer. Well, yes, that is actually unfortunate, isn't it?
Hmm.
People refer to killer apps. I don't know. I better put that one away before we get into trouble.
Yep.
Right. No, you can't. Oh no. Now what? Go away, you stupid freaking pop-ups. Right. Much as I try, some get through. Right. Um, the future of VR, a potential to redefine reality. Right, VR is a way to escape the real world into something far more fantastic. It has to be the potential, have the potential for the most social technology of all time. So said Lucky Palmer before he joined, left Oculus Rift for the Trump camp.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Most distinctive but hype technology at present. Present, sorry. Mhm. Bear, well, it's a roundup here, really, basically. Huge scope of VR enlightenment on the market. This is a site called PCQuest.com. So PCQUEST. It looks like that is probably an actual magazine in the real world, probably in America. I've never seen it. And this is their online site, I think. But it's again, reasonably long article there promoting VR, including its limitations and stuff. But good to see that all these places are addressing it. Right, here we go again. Guess what this one's talking about?
Hmm.
Researchers are using a video game to fight the coronavirus. Yes,
Hmm.
researchers of all stripes are racing to get a handle on it, and this includes a team at the University of Washington in Seattle who take on a novel approach, a video game. The game, released in 2008, in fact, first released anyway, is called Fold It, and in there, players fold proteins in order to understand their structures, which UW researchers say is key to understanding how a protein works and to targeting it with drugs. And yeah, I mean, basically, users of this game software can obviously fold proteins, to find out what the COVID-19 is up to. This is nothing to do with the um, tackling the spread. I think it's more to do with actually tackling what they can do about the virus itself, so to speak. It tells us what that little spike on the surface is all about. And fold it crowdsources work that otherwise would be done entirely by researchers, and it's been fruitful, say the game's creators. Thousands of people are playing, and they're at least equal to, and sometimes better than a computer in folding long chains of amino acids into compact three-dimensional shapes. And notifications is meant to be do not disturb. Thank you very much. Okay, it is now. Oh, yes, and there we got half a picture of a spiky thing. I need to go back. What's happened there? Blast. Sometimes the old desktop gets messed up a bit. Ah, there we are. Right, we're back to where we should be. Anyway, as I said, this article filed on Tuesday is at Kotaku.com. That's Kotaku.com. Very well known site, this, although it's really strict. Oh, it's not strictly for gamers. There is
Mm-mm.
other stuff there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's known as a gaming news site. So it's one of the ones I always get feeds from, although quite often the feeds I'm looking for, they do appear here, but I've already got them from other sources by the time they get here, if you see what I mean. Right, but a good site to monitor. Okay, moving on. Back on VRScout.com. How modding communities are paving the way for user-generated VR and AR content, which I think is what it's all about, really. Um, we've talked about VR, the hardware side of it, particularly sort of taking away from virtual worlds where the idea is the users are creating stuff. This is looking better when they say modding. I mean, you could argue that every user of Second Life is a modder because they everybody customizes what they're doing for themselves in real time. And so they're looking at this. Now, there's a really excellent example of creative modding. Mind you, the image comes from an Apple II. Wolfenstein, Smurfenstein. Oh, the original virtual worlds there. Or something.
Or something.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, or something being the operative word. Anyway, quite a long bit of article about modding stuff here, starting in the early days and coming more up to date, as it were. So I'll leave that one for now. Not much you can say about it. VR Focus again now.
Oh, the foot
Um,
controller. Yeah.
Another controller. Yes, this is a rudder. It's a ruddy rudder. That's like that. It's a ruddy 3D rudder at that. 3D Rudder Pro Wireless is adding native foot controller support to Oculus Quest, and it will also support Android-based standalone headsets. Um, yeah, basically it's a foot control. You stick your foot in that and wobble it around, and you don't have to use your mouse, and you
hmm
can use your hands for touching your face instead. It is. I'm brilliant. You
Yep.
know, I don't know about phones and stuff, but I mean, when I'm sitting here with three screens in front of me and all these things and moving my mouse and keyboards and stuff like that, I don't really have any time to touch my face. It's when I actually go and start watching TV and stuff and lie down, and it's a temptation to, you know, you think you've got an itch when you probably haven't, so you scratch
Right.
it. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. So yeah, all parts of the feet, and no, yeah, you just put your hands in gloves, or you use both. It's all part of the same equation in the end, anyway. And there you have it. Somebody in their headset with their foot controller. It's not a very good picture. You can barely see it, so even on my screen. So I'm pretty sure you can't see it easily on yours.
Yeah.
But there we go. So actually, it's only going to cost 199 US dollars, which they say is 199 euros, which is not. accurate. I think they're doing the about thing really. Um, yeah, it looks very simple. I mean, often these essential things really do end up being quite simple. Um, whether $199 is what you call cheap, I think it would depend on how much you think you can use it.
Yeah.
It's like a Leap Motion or something. The cost is only cheap by comparison to its use. If you're not going to have any use for it, it's not going to be something you buy for a novelty item. I don't think. But there again, you might be very, very rich and think nothing of paying $200 for something. I bet you it's made of plastic. They usually are these days, so it's not helping the environment very much. But at least it's not going down the drain and causing clog plastic. What do they call them? There's these great big things that end up, mile-long clumps of plastic
Oh,
particles in the ocean. There's a name for them now. They've given them a name.
I have not
Useless
tracked that.
use. Yeah. Okay. So back on the same sort of theme, although this actually again is not directly related to viruses. Um, uh, this is Jessica Outlaw. Um, March 2nd, enhancing the experience of virtual conferences in social VR, and it's a recap of the 2019 UIST conference research. This is based on a talk she gave on the benefits of social VR and stuff. And I think she gave the talk in Hubs by Mozilla.
Mm.
Um, anyway, it's just sort of roundup and survey results and stuff. So, yeah, background information, basically stats and figures and stuff, if you want it. So that you will find at extendedmind.io. So, extendedmind.io. And as I say, published March the 2nd, which would have been Monday. So we're getting to the early part of the week now, by the look of it. Right, how AR and VR could be a solution to coronavirus cancellations for conferences. And yeah, well, that says it all, really. It's more or less what I said at the beginning of the show.
Hmm.
I forget who this is. Right, Anshel Stagg. I'm not quite sure who they are. Technology analyst. He does a lot of traveling, industry conferences, talking, etc., etc., and obviously thinks that doing stuff online properly with VR and stuff is a good idea. And surprise, surprise, this software exists today. Yay, look at that. Surprise, surprise. So, moving on to how it could work. How Nvidia have also announced that their conference is going to be online only, so that's a third one. Although I think we had that last week. Um, yep, and the challenges and etc. etc. And then it moves on to another article. This is obviously the way it's laid out. This site is actually Forbes, so it's forbes.com, and slash slides slash more insights. I suspect that to get to the direct link for this, you really need to check out twitter.com Malburns for a clickable feed.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little subtle reminder here. Here we have Tony Parisi's site again, the Ghost Howls, a blog about virtual reality startup, and guess what? Stuff. Yeah, I like blogs that are about stuff. You know, just it leaves them free to talk about whatever they want that's relevant, doesn't it? So this is the XRW Peak, and this is his weekly post where he just rounds up all the stuff that he considers to be the important news of the past week. Um, I don't. I try and make a point of posting this every week actually, because it is a weekly thing. It comes across my radar. A lot of what is there is, to be honest, repeats because it is a news roundup, and in my case, I've normally found the links elsewhere. But amongst other things, there are other relevant news. Yes, coronavirus impacts headset production and kills F8 in Game Developers Conference. Yeah, so that actually is bad for VR, of course, because it doesn't affect virtual worlds so much, but it is affecting the production of headsets and indeed iPads and iPhones
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
It's um, well, all these American companies, um, they just outsource so they can get stuff done in China for cheap. And now that what happens, only got themselves to blame, really. Right. Um, moving on, virtualityreporter.com. XR Health, which obviously is VR, AR, etc., etc., opens the first virtual reality telehealth clinic. Again, they don't mention the virus side of this, but then, if you put two and two together, you'd think anything to do with help opening up at the moment for a virtual reality clinic would be saying, yeah, and if you're scared to go out at the moment, come to our online clinic, but
Yeah.
they don't. So go figure. They were formerly known as VR Health, but obviously they've updated their prefix. A leader in extended reality and therapeutic applications, today announced the first virtual reality telehealth clinic that will provide VR therapy to patients. Clinicians providing care are currently certified in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Florida, Michigan, Washington, D.C., Delaware, California, New York, and North Carolina, and expanding their presence to additional states in the coming months. All XI Health telehealth services are covered by Medicare and most major insurance providers. Um, that is clearly, at this point, a totally American enterprise. XR Health is headquartered. Oh, well, looks like they're in Israel too. They're headquartered in Israel and Boston, Massachusetts.
Hmm.
So there's no mention of what they might be doing in Israel or any other country, but uh, a fair roster of American cities there. If you, indeed you're stuck at home and want to investigate a telehealth clinic, I could use one of those, but my GP doesn't have one. Well, they only just got email.
Hmm.
Go figure. Right, put that one away. Oh, did I give you the
Yeah.
VL scale,
Hmm.
wasn't it, or
Hmm.
something? Yeah, okay. Oh, thank God for that. Oh, and now we had an article earlier on by Liv Erickson at another site. This actually is a piece at her own site, Liv Erickson Technology, Policy and Art. It's liverickson.com, so it's LIV. Um, oh, hang on. Okay, there is an extra I in the web address. Okay, I'm going to have to spell out the web address instead of the title. LIVIERICKSON. So that's actually Liv Ericsson, but with an extra I between the Liv and the Ericsson for reasons. Maybe her full name is Liv I Ericsson or something. Right. These are her thoughts on Game Developers Conference in VR. Now, that hasn't happened, as far as I can make out, but it's basically they've been thrown into a tizzy because of the virus, and as this is the month where GDC and SXSW are scheduled to overlap, everybody's changing their plans, and well, I guess it's too late to actually start GDC in VR, but she's talking about ideas and how that should be happening. And over the past 3 years, she's worked on social VR pretty much exclusively, starting at High Fidelity, and now she's working at Mozilla Hubs. Um, that's probably how I know her best. Right. Building this system today would be difficult at best, impossible at worst. So she does address a nice shot from High Fidelity there. She does address the drawbacks. In her case, uh, she's citing High Fidelity as it was, and they got 423 people into the same domain in 2018. But actually, there's one we mentioned earlier that's exceeded that now. Um, in practice, wide-scale virtual events are hard. This is a bit like putting on TV shows in virtual worlds. I'm not talking about the rough and ready approach that we do with like this, quick news. But you're forever, you meet these people in social VR, and they all think they know it. And there's actually, although the roles are slightly different and things like runners and you know different lighting cameramen and stuff are obsolete in the virtual world. Somebody does lighting, but it's one. So the logistics of it all are different, but this is just as much work.
Hmm.
And certainly, if you're going to put on a conference or a major event in VR, don't it's not something you can just jump into and do. It might be if you do your job well, you're going to make it very easy and comfortable for your attendees. But for your end of things, it really is quite hard work. I'm sure we'll be hearing from Kevin about that shortly. Talking of which, we've got 15 minutes, so I better move on quite
Hmm.
quickly now.
Hmm.
And I just didn't hope I didn't need a stretch before the end.
It should be all right.
Yeah, anyway, so we've got Liv Ericsson's site there, and it's a nice long aerial. So it's liveerickson.com and blog there, and I think she doesn't put too much up there, so I think it'll be the first thing you land on, to be honest. Right. Um, oh, here we are. Um, I showed you this earlier. I gave you a link to the site where you can go. You can go into their rooms, which have been set up already. That's the official site for IEEEVR.org. So IEEEVR.org. And if slash 2020 slash online, basically, um, this is the program for this year's conference. And they tell you all about it, including the fact that they're using online social spaces, various different things to bring it to you online. So IEEEVR.org is what you want for that one. Right, VR focus again. DNA VR to open second London location this April. This again is House of the House VR experiences. They've already got one in Camden, and they're opening up another location in Hammersmith, which is actually not too far from me. But I'm not a game player really. I don't know where I'd actually go there. And again, well, April is still a month away, but when you see um, announcements like this, I think, well, if this coronavirus gets any worse, they probably won't even legally be able to hold it. I mean,
Mm.
already the government is forcing events to be stopped. It's been voluntary up until now, but here in the UK, that is now changing quite clearly. I think we got double the cases again this morning. Okay. So find out about that at vrfocus.com. Moving on, this is a site called The Verge, www.theverge, or one word, TheVerge.com. Core is a new platform aiming to be the YouTube of game development. And so I find it very hard to know what a YouTube of game development would actually be, but basically it's a free tool that should be in open alpha soon. Whether it's just meant for the idea is training videos for game development or something, I'm not really sure. Um, we're not building a game anymore. They say there will be where they're building a service, and it's a studio from Manticore Games. So it sounds like possibly Manticore Games are not the success they used to be, and so they're trying to come up with a new angle. But there you go. That actually does quite look interesting as an interface. You've got your virtual world, and then you've got your components. I suspect it's designed for drag and drop. There are a few virtual worlds that have this kind of thing, and of course, actually, the most obvious is somewhere like Science Space, where you buy stuff in the marketplace, it's in an inventory, and then you drag and drop it around. You can do that in OpenSim and Second Life too, but there you have if you're so inclined, you can actually make the things yourself, and you have a wide degree of almost ultimate creativity. If you can think it, you can do it, well, within reason. Whereas with these things, it tends to be a kind of we thought of it for you. Can you? And you can use our what we're giving you. Um, you can't upload your own textures or 3D models. They take existing pieces and tweak them in size, scale, and color, and fuse them with other pieces. So a bit of oh God, I don't know, what is it? Sort of 3D version of clip art, really, isn't it? With a world
Or The
added.
Sims.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we're short on time here, so www.theverge.com. And finally, for the Malbones feed anyway, making money from games, the future of virtual economies. So this is part 6 of the multiverse series. I remember having part 4 and 5 last week. So this is techcrunch.com, TECHCRUNCH.com. And it was a 6-part series on multiverse VRs and stuff like that. So before I put these things away, um, I did have something else here. Where is it? Oh, I see what's happened. Right. Okay. On the other feed, Metaworld feed. Um, oh, open similar past, present, future. Chrome extension. This looks like something that didn't work. Oh, and this is IEEE VR Online again, so it's a duplicate. Okay, well, you'll be pleased to know, I'm not, that I have nothing on the Metaworld news feed to
Oh, well,
bring
that's
you.
good. I see that Kevin has arrived.
Oh, he's here with us.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. Nothing on that. The only thing I would say, I think it's the one I can't get through today. The extension is bookmark the extension instead of the actual tweet. Um, Krista Lopez, basically, who created the hypergrid and industrious on various other things, she did a talk very recently on the very thing we're talking about here, which is using OpenSim or some such thing instead of real world conferences, and saying how happy she is. She says she's been sitting in her own conference center for the past 5 years. Now
Oh,
maybe
okay.
she can get her students to come and join her. Right, I think she was being facetious, but anyway, there was a link there, and I'm afraid it's misfired here. But she did post the slides and basically all the content of that talk online, and it was. I thought it was in the Metaworld news feed, but maybe not. If I remember, I'll try and relocate it and post it again. Okay, so that's it. How are we doing? Yeah, we got 5 minutes or so. James, any thoughts on all that lot?
No, no particular thoughts. I mean, obviously that. I mean, the virus. I mean, the illness that people are experiencing is terrible, and it's fascinating to see that something that we are so interested in is possibly going to be of benefit to the situation. But I
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't wish this to happen to further the cause of virtual experiences.
No, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And actually, I mean, but well, witticism, what wasn't really fair. That witticism about maybe it's a conspiracy theory, but it couldn't be. It couldn't
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be more inclined to believe they faked the moon landing than this.
Oh, right. Right.
It's just too clever and everything. But yeah, you are right. Swings and roundabouts. Although really, this situation is getting very bad.
Yeah.
Imagine it got totally out of control. It wouldn't matter whether we have virtuals or not.
Right. Right.
Yeah, the work time involved in setting things up and everything else like that. That's still got to be tackled while the virus is spreading.
Yeah.
And of course, with
Indeed.
luck, it will all fizzle out, and then everybody will be left with stale food in their bunkers.
Yeah. A vaccine will be
They won't be
produced. You
interested
know.
in virtual worlds anymore anyway, because the threat is over.
Right.
But let's go figure. Okay, well, I think that's it from both of us this week. In other words, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
In other words, both of us, yes. We will return same time, same place next week. But don't go anywhere just yet if you're watching us live, because we're going to be going off air, and then we're going to be coming on air again in literally a few short minutes with a special edition of the InWorld Review, where actually it's our annual interview with Kevin Phelan. I've got Slack open, and I can see that the last one was on March the 9th this time last year. So it's an annual interview. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. We will be talking about something I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this mysterious thing called VWBP. What, you may ask, is a VWBP? No, it's not another brand of coronavirus. It better not be.
Mm.
It stands for Virtual World's Best Practices in Education. And Kevin Phelan is sometimes known as Felon Conwell, will be with us shortly, talking all about this. He's the chap that convenes it all and puts it all together. So, we will see you in a few minutes if you're staying tuned. Otherwise, we will see you same time, same place, more or less ish, next week, virus permitting. Bye for now.